Big Muddy Mayhem, the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week, we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Janet O'Brien.
And I'm Tracey Laricha.
Hello!
Hello! Happy Valentine's Day. Well, actually, this will be dropping a week after,
yes.
But hello, I hope everybody had a nice Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we hope you also had a good Mardi Gras if you celebrate.
Absolutely, and if you didn't, well...
Right.
Sorry about that. Wasn't our fault.
No, it wasn't. Well, we're straight into fish fry season.
We are, and I cannot wait.
I love
Absolutely cannot wait. I actually, I work for a hotel. We even talked a little bit about that before our staff meeting today. One of our convention service people had been to an Ash Wednesday Mass.
Oh, nice.
Because
Okay.
today is Ash Wednesday. Right. And so we were talking about the different fish fries around town and the good ones. And... looking forward to a few of them.
Yeah. What is your favorite? Which one?
My very favorite is St. Pius.
Yeah. I love St. Pius. When I used to live right across the parking lot from it, I would just walk across the street, get to go, and go right back.
It's the live music for me that I like.
Yeah.
The live Irish music. And then what I love, too, is that there's a very subtle kind of shaming that goes on at that fish fry. In that they have people from the church that sign up to bring desserts.
Right.
But then when you go to the dessert tables, there's one that is marked homemade and there is one that is marked store-bought. And we know who really loves the Lord, don't we?
That is hilarious. Nobody is shaming any parishioners at that church whatsoever.
Not at all. What about you? Your very favorite?
So I love St. Cecilia's only because it's Mexican and they have some things that are normally not on there.
Right, you can get like chili rellenos.
Right, but I think my favorite one is the one that starts with a P. The one has the shark in it.
Stephen Protomeyer. Or Protomartyr.
Yes, that is a fantastic one.
St. Stephen Protomartyr.
They have fried macaroni bites. They are so good.
So good.
Cheese macaroni bites. And they have really good shrimp there, and I just love that one. So if you're not from St. Louis, even though a lot of us are not really religious per se, the fish fries, they happen every Friday starting this week going all the way through Lent.
Till Easter,
Yeah, till Easter. So we got like 6 weeks of fish fries, and they're just so good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So much fun. So I think we have a couple of stories.
I do. I have a couple of, I've got one story. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't know I needed to bring 2. I've got one story for you.
Awesome.
And it's one that I don't think that you have heard before.
Okay.
But it has all of my favorite elements. It's kind of around Civil War time.
Nice.
It takes place in the Ozarks.
Nice.
There is a woman that is kind of the hero of the story.
Sweet.
So, like, all the things that kind of hook me.
Yay!
And I'm going to tell you about Alf Bolin.
Alf Bolin. Never heard of him.
And Murder Rock.
Murder Rock. Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
So... we'll jump in the mud here.
Yay.
And I'm going to start with telling you Alf Bolin. Well, we think his name is Alf Bolin. He might have also been Alf Bolin, Bowlin, Boland.
Right.
A-N-D, or Boland, U-N-D. Born in the winter of 1842, we think.
Okay.
In Ponce de Leon, Missouri, we think.
We think.
Now, his mom's name is Matilda. We're reasonably sure about that.
Okay.
His dad? No idea. Some sources say that he was killed by a Union soldier.
Okay.
But whatever happened, Mom and Dad, neither one of them were really around. They abandoned, Dad was never around. Mom abandons Alf when he's about 11 years old.
Abandons him.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good.
Just leaves him in the cabin. She takes off with a horse trader, we think.
We think.
But Alf is all alone and on his own.
Oh, my gosh.
He is kind of a charity case now. He's depending on the kindness of strangers. He ventures out and reaches out to his neighbors because he's 11.
Oh, yeah.
And even though 11 back then is a little bit more independent than 11 now, that's still really young to
yes,
be
it is. Very.
completely on your own.
Absolutely.
Now, lucky for him, one of the first people that he encounters is one of his neighbors, and his name is Calvin Cloud.
Okay.
Now, Calvin is a neighbor living with his wife, Mary Jane. He is a blacksmith.
Okay.
He's not wealthy, and he and Mary Jane already have some kids and will eventually have 11 of their own.
Wow.
But he is also like a good person, and they take in this 11-year-old kid, Alf. Here's a picture of the Cloud family out in front of their tiny cabin.
Yep.
Look at the size of that house, and imagine having
all of those
12
children. Yeah, that is a
kids
lot of people in that small cabin.
in this tiny, tiny cabin. But they do it. They do what's right. And so he and Mary Jane take him in. This is around 1853.
Okay.
By 1859, Alf, who is about 17 right now, we think.
Okay. We think.
This whole story is kind of half legend and half
Right.
fact. So everything I say,
This is what you can find.
is what I could find.
Right.
So around 17, he leaves the Cloud family, and he kind of turns to the bad.
Oh.
Imagine,
Right.
he is running with a guy named Sam Hildebrand
Okay.
and his gang. Sam Hildebrand had been a part of Quantrill's Raiders. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Nope.
During the Civil War.
Oh, okay.
That's a whole other episode. I call dibs. So 1862, it's not so long after running with Sam Hildebrand and possibly Bloody Bill Anderson and Quantrill's Raiders that the Alf has a gang of his own.
Okay.
Now they are bushwhackers. Do you know what a bushwhacker
I've heard
is?
of that. I've heard of that term. I don't. Just remind me. I'm sure it'll be like. Oh,
so
right.
during the Civil War, if you were not a Confederate soldier, but you were on the side of the Confederacy, kind of working like off the grid,
Oh, okay.
those were bushwhackers.
Oh.
And apparently on the north side, if you were not a Union soldier, but you were working on the side of the Union, that was a Jayhawk.
Oh, wow.
Which
okay.
is why...
That's crazy.
Yeah, where we
Okay.
get that term. So they're Confederate sympathizers, but they aren't Confederate soldiers.
Right.
So this is also a good way for people to kind of stay, quote-unquote, safe
Yeah.
in the border states. And it's also a really good way to accumulate wealth.
Oh.
Right? Because you don't make money necessarily working for the army.
No.
But if you're just out kind of doing crimes, they're basically land pirates.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
It's a good way to accumulate wealth working for the army. So Alf already has a hatred of the Union because of what supposedly may or may not have happened to his father, we think.
Right. We think.
But he has all of the ingredients needed to bake up the cake of a terrible person.
Oh, good.
He was an abandoned kid.
Yes.
He has reason to hate because of his dad's alleged murder.
Ah.
He has lived his entire life in poverty. It's wartime, and there's a culture clash, and
Yep.
he is deeply on the side of the South. And he's also living in an isolated area that he has a lot of knowledge of. So I'm going to show you a picture, and I'm going to have you describe it for our listeners. He uses all of this to be the best of the best at being the worst of the worst. And this is Alf Bolin.
Okay. He's got a knife. He's definitely... he's got a knife. It looks like he's wearing maybe a... he's not in the army, but it looks like an army hat. He looks very Confederate.
He's kind of cosplaying.
Yeah, exactly. He's cosplaying a Confederate soldier with a knife. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's got a big, crazy mustache, too.
He does, and his face just looks hard.
Yeah, it looks like he's had a hard life, and he's probably not very old. I assume.
No, I think that he's maybe, like I said, about 17 or 18
Yeah,
in this
he looks
picture.
like he's about 30.
He looks much older.
Maybe 40.
Right. So during the war, he takes advantage of the fact that he knows the area. Specifically, in the area, there is a road known as the Springfield-Harrison Road
Okay.
that goes from Springfield, Missouri to, I believe, Harrison, Arkansas.
Ah, okay.
And this is one of the only ways to get from here to there.
Gotcha.
Across the border. Now, it is something that soldiers frequently use. It is something that is used for commerce. It is also a mail route.
Gotcha.
So again, particularly, he has a huge chip on his shoulder against anything about the Union. So, just off of this road, there is a big rock formation. It is kind of a little like Elephant Rocks.
Oh, okay.
If you've ever been there. Huge boulders.
Yes.
Like just big, huge.
Just kind of sitting
centuries old boulders sitting out. And they form at this particular place along the Springfield-Harrison Road, just off-road. They form sort of a natural cave. I'm going to show you Murder Rock.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that totally looks like Elephant Rocks. Absolutely.
So it is big enough to hide several grown men and their horses. Close enough to see the road. Perfect for an ambush. So today it is, again, called Murder Rock. Alf is the reason why.
Okay.
He is ruthless. He is called the meanest man in the Ozarks.
Oh, wow.
We're getting kind of shades of Ken McElroy.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, then y'all need to go back and listen to, I believe, episode 7. He's known to carry a gun with 41 hatch marks in the handle.
Oh, and I assume the hatch marks are how many people he's killed.
How many people he's killed. Right. So here's just a sample platter of some of his victims. Number 1, David Titsworth. Get it out. Get it out.
Titsworth.
All right. I'll give you a minute.
Okay, I'm fine.
David Titsworth. He is a 16-year-old boy who is taking letters to the post office from family members to his father, who is a Union soldier who is sick.
Oh, no. This is not going to go well.
And Alf shoots him point blank for absolutely no reason. I mean, he doesn't have anything. He's carrying the mail.
Right.
Other than his dad was in the Union Army,
Yeah.
and Alf is a mean, mean man.
Right.
So a couple of women that witnessed this, so brave. They call him out. They are like, they chastise him.
Oh, wow.
And he tells them, get back in the house if you want to save your scalps. This'll make 19 I've killed.
Oh, my God.
So this is early on. So Titsworth is one of the first.
Yes.
And there's also a connection early on during the Quantrill's raiders, the days that he was with Hildebrand. He also ran around apparently with a man named Dick Glasscock. I really wanted to be able to tie this into the story. I'm just bringing it up for the joke. I'm like, oh, Dick Glasscock. But tried as hard as I could. I just couldn't get it in. So we're a classy podcast.
We
you
are.
guys. Please share it with your grandma. Another person that was a victim of Alf Bolin is a guy that was just known as Mr. Bud. He is an 80-year-old man, and this is an 1860s 80.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's old.
Yeah. He's carrying a load of corn back from a place that had some, and this is when there's a whole lot of scarcity because it's the middle of the Civil War.
Right, absolutely.
Most of the menfolk, anybody, this was conscripted service, this was any able-bodied, male adult was going to be taken off. If they hadn't already volunteered, they were going to be pressured into service.
Exactly.
He is bringing back this load of corn to the women and children of the village that he lives in, I think in White River. And he's bringing food back to the town for people that couldn't go for themselves. Alf, again, shoots him for literally no reason. He doesn't have anything. He has corn.
Right.
Then it's uncertain, but it sounds like Mr. Bud didn't die right away, but they just pushed him into the river so he was swept downstream and drowned.
My God.
And it's, again, like, what's
the point?
What's the purpose of
right.
this? Did I mention that Alf Bolin is a bad man?
Is Alf a bad man?
And that he's also giving serious Ken McElroy energy. Episode 7. He's a bully. He takes what he wants by force, and he preys on the weak, particularly the women, children, and elderly that are left behind while the, menfolk of the town are off to war. He demands food, he demands shelter, he demands horses, whatever else he wants. He feels like anything and anyone is his to take. So maybe the worst of these offenses happens on October 10th of 1862.
Okay.
Bolin and part of his gang, again, he's got his own gang by now.
Oh, wow.
They're on the run from some Union soldiers that they just ambushed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he knows the area, he knows the backwoods, and they have with them 3 men, 2 horses, and 1 gun.
Oh my God.
But again, Bolin knows the area especially well, so he leads his gang down a mountain road to a place that he's familiar with.
Okay.
And to a homestead that he's familiar with.
Whose homestead?
That would be the homestead of Calvin Cloud.
Mm.
The family that raised him. That
took him God.
In. The man that took him in when he had nothing. And he was an 11-year-old, begging on their doorstep.
Right.
They're wearing hoods. They're on horseback. Although I guess it's kind of funny because 2 of them had to be on, 1 horse.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But they're wearing hoods, they're on horseback, and Bolin and his gang ride up to the Cloud homestead, and they demand provisions and weapons. And Calvin Cloud is home. He comes out and he tells the trio that he doesn't have any weapons. Alf says, direct quote, "Calvin, you're lying. You've got a good gun, and I want it." Calvin Cloud recognizes the voice.
Oh, no.
Of the boy that he helped raise.
Oh, no.
And he says, "Alf, you know you can have anything I've got, but take off that mask, get off that horse, and ask for it like a man." And then they hug it out. No, I'm just kidding. Alf shoots Calvin dead on the spot. Oh, my
God. Wow.
Calvin's wife, Mary Jane, who is very pregnant, comes running out of the house, screaming, racing to her dying husband. Alf takes a shot at her.
Oh, my God.
But misses. And so they run off, the Bolin gang takes off, and they decide that they're probably too well recognized in Stone County, where they were, so they head to Taney County, Missouri. They're still pulling heists at Murder Rock. Alf is still menacing women and children left behind during the war. But now, he has a price on his head. They are offering between $1,000 and $4,000.
Oh, my God. Wow.
1860
yeah,
something dollars.
That's a lot.
In the story, what is fact is that they know they want him dead or alive. Wanted.
Yeah, dead or alive.
I even have a note here.
Wanted.
I have a note in my
alive.
In my story notes that just says, "Let Janet sing." Do you know me?
Just a little bit.
So the stakes have been raised, and there is somebody that is willing to see them. Enter Mrs. Robert Foster.
Okay.
So her husband is in a Union jail in Springfield because he is a Confederate soldier. Now, she's one of the women that Alf has been taking advantage of, and she quietly has kind of become a Union sympathizer.
Ooh.
So she's willing to play ball and help get Bolin in exchange for her husband's freedom. She wants him out. She wants her husband home.
Right, absolutely.
She will do what it takes to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So Alf regularly stayed with her against her will. You know, again, like food and whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm happy to assist. Here at your service. Enter Zachariah Thomas.
Okay.
Now, he is a member of the 1st Iowa Cavalry. He's also a Union soldier. They dress him up in Confederate garb. They send him over to Mrs. Thomas's house when they know that Alf is probably going to be dropping by. She puts him upstairs in a bedroom, and they masquerade him as a very sick Confederate soldier that's going home on furlough.
Wow.
So she also kind of hints to Alf. Alf comes over, basically. He hears noises from upstairs, and he's like, well, who the hell is that? I'm going to go up there and kill him. She's like, oh, it's a sick Confederate soldier, Alf. He's just on his way home. I'm just giving him a place to rest for the night. He's been so ill. And, you know, word is, I hear that he might have provisions to sell.
Oh,
okay. So now there are 2 reasons that Alf's like going to let that slide. He sees an opportunity and he calms down. So Thomas comes down the stairs, you know, dressed up in Confederate uniform, acting sick. And Mrs. Foster sits everybody down to eat. She puts Thomas with his back to the fire because he's so sick and, you know, it'll help stave off the chill. Now, next to the fire is something called a plow coulter. Okay. I don't know if you have ever seen one of these.
Let's see here.
It's...
Maybe, I don't know.
It
looks like an arrow.
Yeah, it's a plow coulter.
Oh, is it to shovel?
It's put it on the front of a plow and it works kind of as a thresher to like help cut down crops.
Gotcha.
Back when all the plows were like
yeah. No, I know what that is now. Sorry.
So it's called a plow coulter. And Alf even asks about it. And she's like, oh, I just found that on the farm and now I just use it to stoke the fire. Which it does look like it would be a decent tool.
Absolutely.
It is a it's cast iron and it's a long piece of metal with a triangular head kind of at the end of it.
And that would have done the plowing.
Yes. And so it does look like if you had one and you needed something to poke around in a fire, it would be a good pokey thing. They sit down. At first, I was like, oh, I wish I knew what the dinner was. But after doing some research, I found out what the dinner was.
There's no foodies here at all.
No, not at all. So they had ham, potatoes, and green beans.
Oh, okay.
And they sit down, and they're sitting in front of the fire, and they're eating and talking. And after they eat, Alf wants to smoke a pipe after dinner. And don't we all? And he crouches down to get a live coal from the fireplace so he can light his pipe. Whack!
Oh, wanted, dead or alive.
I didn't have a song in there yet, but there is one more spot where you're going to do that. So he hits Alf in the back of the head with the plow coulter. Again, shades of McElroy. Remember when he died lighting a cigarette?
Yes.
Smoking kills, guys.
Exactly.
But Alf is not quite dead yet.
Oh.
So they think they've got him, but he starts to kind of twitch and mutter. So Thomas used the plow coulter for one specific reason, and that is because Alf has a gang. And when he would go and stay at these places, he always had a couple of members of his gang kind of out in the woods, in the hills, around wherever he was staying. A gunshot would have been too loud.
Yes.
It would have attracted the attention of however many people he had hiding out. So they drag him to an adjoining room, and then they finish him off with the plow coulter there.
Wow.
So, February 2nd, 1863, Alf is dead. There's a bounty on his head still. Dead or alive.
Wanted, dead or alive.
My show notes actually do say, let Janet sing again. But to collect the bounty, they have to get the remains to Ozark, Missouri, which is 35 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Or at least some of them.
Or at least some of them.
The body would be so heavy to carry, and it might also attract attention from people hiding out in the woods. It would be rough on the horse. Carrying an entire body is suspicious.
Yes, it is.
So they decide to just take the head.
Well,
Overhead compartment. And now I've done 2 stories in a row where I've talked about decapitation, so I'm pretty sure I'm on some kind of watch list. As if our search histories weren't bullish enough now, right?
Oh God! The algorithm. The algorithm.
The algorithm. Even just... They put the head in a bag and take it to Ozark, Missouri. They stop along the way, all kinds of places, just to be like, yup, he's gone, he's dead, he's gone.
Good.
When they get to Ozark, Missouri, they put the head on a pike.
Oh,
On a pole.
Yep.
And stake it up in the courthouse square.
Oh, wow.
It's backwoods Macbeth. And according to the legends, kids throw rocks at it.
Oh my God!
They actually have celebrations in the street, much like McElroy again. Like they're like, oh, this guy is dead. We're like, whew,
Right.
ding dong.
She's dead.
Yeah, and so anyway, they have dances around it like you.
Oh my God!
They show it off, like I said, along every stop along the way to Ozark. Everybody feels safer now.
Yeah.
Apparently, there is one source said there was a windstorm and it blew the pole over, and that the rest of it was kind of eaten up by wild hogs, and that's what happened. So that being said, prior to that, once they have the head in Ozark, it needs to be identified in order for them to be able to collect
the money.
money. But Alf doesn't have any family.
Oh.
Alf has never had a wife or anything. They have to find someone that knows him and can, positively identify the body. So they call Mary Jane Cloud.
Yeah, that's where I thought that was going.
Calvin's widow.
Yeah.
She is very pregnant. Again, this is about 35 miles away, but she is, she's 7 months pregnant, and she goes on a 35-mile journey by horse just to see justice done.
Yeah.
From Ponce de Leon to Ozark, Missouri, to identify the head. And her comment when they show it to her after all of this, the boy that she raised, the man that killed her husband.
Yeah.
That's Alf, all right.
Wow. Stoic. So stoic.
Nobody misses Alf Bolin.
No.
But there are still some questions there.
Uh-huh.
And this is what I found kind of interesting. Where's the loot?
Right.
He was 21 years old when he was killed. He never paid for anything. He always just took whatever he wanted.
Right.
None of the goods have been found.
Oh, wow.
Where did it go? He didn't have any trust in banks. This is during the Civil War.
No.
Where nobody was sure what money was going to be worth what when.
Exactly.
He doesn't have any trust in banks, and even so, even if he had, he's a robber. He's not exactly the sort of dude that can go in and open up an account.
No, not at all.
So it has to be someplace. Now, listeners, Janet and I have actually looked for this treasure, and we can't find it. So we need to refer you to please check out our Patreon. We tried. There's also kind of a Missouri's flavored headless horseman story about Alf who stole horses and lost his head, being an apparition around Murder Rock. Like, so for you ghosty folks,
nice.
If you run across the headless corpse of, well, he won't be able to tell you, but but ask him if he can show you where the treasure is.
Yeah, we would like to know.
We would like that.
That would be very nice.
For a while, there were also something called Alf Bolin days. They were so happy about him being gone that they did Alf Bolin days in the town.
Wow.
With people dressing up and all of that. Apparently that has ended now.
Oh, okay.
I don't have this in my photos for the show notes, but I do have to show you this one picture that I found.
Oh my god. It's Uncle Sam
meeting Alf Bolin.
Oh my god.
They've been discontinued. But that is the story of the short but absolutely terrible life of Murder Rock and Alf Bolin.
Wow, that was an amazing story. And I mean, at least she got money because he was wanted, dead or alive.
That concludes, I think, the musical portion of our story.
I hope so. Oh, that was a great story, Tracey.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I started reading this one while I was researching last week.
Yeah, and you're like,
and I'm like, I have to finish Zack and Abby, but I really want to get to this.
That was great.
All right.
Oh.
And now I think you might have a tale to tell.
I do. So this is this is not 1800s. In fact, this is like in the past, like 2 decades.
Okay, good.
Or less. So, probably less, actually. Anyway, you probably know this story because you tend to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. And
A fair number.
I watch, Discovery, and they have true crime documentaries. So I had seen this before. I kind of just put it on the shelf. I totally forgot about it. I was listening to what is it? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of it. National Parks After Dark.
Yeah, that's
yes.
the one. Oh, it's a good one.
It's such a good podcast. Anyway, so I re-evaluated. I was like, oh, okay, I have to do that one. It's just the way it's going to go, and you've probably heard it, but I think a lot of our listeners probably have not if they don't listen to as many things that we do. So, this is the story. I'm going to start off with a cryptid, but then it's going to turn into a true crime story.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Slender Man?
I have! Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay.
Also, really quick, so National Parks After Dark has one. Also, pods supporting pods. Like, there's enough room for all of us. Sinisterhood.
Oh, they do this one.
Also has a very, very good episode about Slender Man.
Okay. So Slender Man, I'm gonna start off with a cryptid. Okay. Which, I mean, it's a cryptid, yes. However, it is totally fabricated cryptid that just kind of went wild. So Slender Man is a fictitious internet boogeyman that steals small children, or children in general. Basically, what happened is that back in the day that there was this site called Creepypasta. And they were going to do a challenge. They're like, hey, this is for like college students and writers and stuff that are really into sci-fi. And they're like, hey, we're going to do a challenge. We want it's a Photoshop contest. We're going to challenge people to create a paranormal image.
Okay.
Okay. So This guy by the name of Eric Cudson or Knudsen, I think it's Cudson, in 2009, he ends up creating this thing, and he created 2 photos. Basically, it's a black and white photos where you have a bunch of children playing in a park, and then back in the ground there's a suspiciously tall, weird looking thing in the background. Yeah, and then there's another one where there's some high school students. They're clearly all walking in the same direction. Same thing. It's just creepy because it's just way in the background. He's thin. He's unnaturally tall, like anywhere between like 6 and 11, 12 feet. He's a humanoid. He's featureless. He has there's no eyes, no facial features, but he's super white, and he's wearing a black suit. Now, he ended up updating his image where he ended up like painting tentacles that came out of its back. Right. Yeah. And he stalks and abducts and traumatizes people, but mostly children. He's become a pop culture icon. And the stories, they ended up becoming fictional stories because then he started putting things along with it. So like one of the things that he came up with, he took one of these pictures that he created and he put a little thing on the bottom of it saying, we don't want to go. We didn't want to kill them, but its persistence, silence, and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. Yeah. And it says 1983, photographer, unknown, presumed dead. So, I mean, this is in 2009, and he's trying.
I was going to say, looking at an image, it's basically like if you put Lurch on a starvation diet.
Exactly.
Then you get Slender Man.
And then the other photograph, he goes, 1 or 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Okay. So that's where he comes up with the term. So his photography has gone from, okay, I'm just entering this into a contest, to, okay, now you're doing sci-fi fiction. Right. Because you're adding words to it.
You're making a story.
Right, exactly. So since this happened, this starts to become, popular, and people are adding to the mythology of him. There's stories that are basically shared online. They end up creating 2 video games from this character. One is called Marble Hornets, but it is known as the Operator. Oh, that's a video series. Marble Hornets, and it's known as the Operator. And then they create 2 video games. The one is called Slender, the 8 Pages, in 2012, and then Slender, the Arrival from 2013. So you already have video games, you got videos, you got stories. Exactly. This is like snowballing into here's this fun, creepy character. It's kind of fun.
It's like a predecessor of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Exactly. Yeah. There's posters created of Slender Man. So now we're going to go on to the story.
Okay.
So in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Waukesha, Wisconsin. I am horrible at pronouncing things, so pardon me. That's why I have Tracey.
That's why we have Megan.
Right.
I would have said Waukesha as well, but... Waukesha, but no, it's Waukesha.
Waukesha, Wisconsin. So May 31st of 2014. There is this girl, Peyton Leutner, it's Leutner. She's 12 years old. Mm-hmm. She has been invited to go over to her best friend's house for a slumber party because it is Morgan's birthday. Morgan is turning 12 years old. Mm-hmm. So to celebrate her birthday, they end up going over there. They go to the skating rink, they skate, they're having a good time, and then they're going to have a slumber party afterwards.
Hooray, I get to go sleep on somebody's fold-out couch with a roll bar right now. I can't wait.
Exactly.
That's the difference between 12 and our age, right?
Right. When you're 12, you're just sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag, if there's no beds or a couch. So they end up going over there, and they did sleepovers all the time.
Sure.
It's not a big deal. And then they would go play outside, they'd draw, it was a typical sleepover. Peyton did notice Morgan was acting kind of funny. She wasn't being like her normal self, because normally when they would do a sleepover, she would want to stay up all night long because Morgan's mom was kind of strict. Her mom was like, no, you can't stay up, but sleepover.
A sleepover, fine. I don't have to deal with you. You're with your friends.
Right,
so
exactly.
Stay up if you want to, kid.
And Peyton said Morgan was, she basically friended her because Morgan did not really have any friends. Oh. And Peyton was like, well, she would watch her sit in the lunchroom all the time by herself.
Oh, that's awful.
And Megan was like, she needs at least one friend. And they got along really well, and it was fine. And so they would hang out, and it was all great and everything. She had a great imagination. She was fun to hang out with. It was great.
Sure.
Enter Anissa Weir. She is also at the sleepover. She came from another school. And so when she ended up going to their school, Morgan and Anissa ended up just liking each other immediately. Like, they were really close. They liked the same stuff. They liked horror. They liked paranormal stories. So they were... And Anissa and Peyton did not get along.
And this age, that is so very common.
Yes.
There was a girl that entered my grade school at 7th grade that just completely shook up a whole lot of friendships that had taken place.
Yeah, this is exactly what's going on. Completely. It's like, Morgan's my friend, and now we have this other girl, and Anissa was clearly jealous of the relationship between Morgan and Peyton, and it started to kind of put a wedge between them because they were not friends. But Morgan, she ends up she's talking to Anissa, and Anissa plants this little seed in Morgan's head about Slender Man. Because, again, what do? They like horror, they like paranormal stuff.
And you're so susceptible to that kind of thing at that age, too. That's when kids get into, playing around with Ouija boards.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
Yeah.
This is totally that age.
Completely.
So she, Anissa's, telling Morgan about Slender Man, which Morgan and Anissa are talking about, and now Morgan starts talking about Slender Man to Peyton. And Peyton's like, yeah, that's really creepy. I'm not really into that. I mean, Peyton said the stories frightened her, but she went along with it because she thought that's what Morgan liked.
Right, and you'll do anything to keep your friends because you're, 12?
Yeah, they're only 12.
They're 12-year-old girls. You will do anything to try and, keep your friends circle, especially if you were somebody that was kind of ostracized beforehand.
Right.
You've got this one friend,
Yeah, I mean, Peyton is like, okay, well, she only had one. Now she's got this other friend that I'm not terribly excited about, but I'm not gonna dump the friendship. Peyton said the stories started to frighten her, and then the more that she heard these stories from Morgan, she at some point Peyton was like, is this real? And so she ends up going to ask her own mother. She's like, Mom, what's this Slender Man
Slender Man real?
Yeah, and she's like, no, it's not real. It's not a real thing. Okay. And then but Peyton said that Morgan really thought Slender Man was real.
Oh.
Really, really did. At one point, Peyton was ready to just give up on the friendship. She's like, okay, this is going a little too weird, because she could see the change in Morgan after meeting Anissa. So, but she ends up staying friends because she felt guilty if Morgan had no friends. Anissa apparently was cruel to Peyton, but she knew how much Morgan loved Anissa. So again, Peyton just kind of was like, okay, well, you have this crappy lady that girl that I don't really get along with, but I'm still going to try to stay her friend.
Sure.
Peyton really believes, after this whole story, she's like, they were just super toxic for each other. It was the wrong, they just fed each other in the wrong way. So yeah, they end up going to the skate park. After the skate park, they got some frozen custard.
Yum.
They go back to the house, and again, normally they stay up really late, but at some point, Peyton's like, what's going on? Because Anissa and Morgan were like, oh, we're really tired. We should just go to bed. And she's like, wait, what? This is a slumber party. What's going on?
Right.
You know?
Like,
slumber
we never
parties
go to
is
bed
like
early.
last man standing. You know? Nobody wants to go to bed.
They'll freeze your bra.
They may put your hand in a bottle
In warm
of
water. Kids today have no idea.
Exactly. I mean, aren't you supposed to sneak out of your house at 2 a.m. and go teepee your friend's house down the street? I mean, that's what you do, right?
Steal the extra towels out of the linen closet to make like pillow dummies.
Yes!
Because surely that's the cunning plot.
Oh my God. So, yeah, so this is kind of going on, and she's like, what's going on? And honestly, they're both, I mean, Anissa apparently is the one that was, again, the one who was like, Slender Man, Slender Man. At one point, before the slumber party, Anissa was like, I swore I saw it standing outside of their school bus. You know, yeah, it's just kind of
She's the ringleader.
Yes, she is. So they decide 6 months prior to this, they start scheming a plan.
Wow.
I mean, it was 6 months before.
Wow.
So they're so into Slender Man. I don't know where they read it, because there's a lot of stuff on him now, that Slender Man has a mansion out in this park that's like 200 miles away. And the only way to appease Slender Man, so Slender Man doesn't come after their families, is that they have to kill someone.
I have heard parts of this story, but I didn't know that it was so
6
far
months.
in advance.
Yeah, they planned it 6 months prior. And so they were like, okay, well, Peyton was the obvious choice because they didn't know anyone else. Who else are they going to convince to come to a slumber party? Right? It's so messed up. So the plan is they were going to, to appease them, they were going to kill someone. Peyton was the chosen one. Once they kill her, they would walk 200 miles to Nicollet National Forest and meet Slender Man at his mansion called Slender Mansion. Yes. I know.
Okay.
I did the same.
That's some good branding. I'm just saying. I mean, nothing about this is all right, but I gotta give some ups to Slender Mansion.
So
Bravo.
when they're on the bus together, like, how in the world do they talk about this stuff? So they apparently use code words. Like, instead of using the word knife, they would use the word cracker. Instead of killing, they'd use the word itch. They had code words.
Oh, okay.
So they came up with a plan, and there ended up being 3 plans. So let me go through the plans here.
3. All right.
3. The first plan is that they were going to have the slumber party, they were going to go to sleep, and then at 2 a.m., Morgan had those headphone things to listen to stuff on.
I wear one every night, or at least I used to.
She puts them on her ears, and then she sets an alarm like on her iPad or whatever.
Right.
So it will go off and wake her up at 2 a.m. She was going to wake up. They were going to duct tape Peyton's mouth shut, cut her throat, and then leave in the middle of the night. That was their plan.
Okay.
But when the alarm woke her up, they decided they were too tired to do this.
Alexa, service news for them.
So, plan number 2. The second plan is the next morning. Now, remember, Morgan's mom she's kind of strict. She normally could not go down to the park down the street from them, but she's got her 2 other friends. It's a slumber party, and she's
So
like,
now it's allowed.
yeah, it's like, oh, come on, it's going to be the 3 of us. We're just going to walk down to the park and goof off. She's like,
dear.
okay.
Okay.
So their plan the next morning was to go to the park, get her into the bathroom somehow, like, I guess, wait until she had to go, because they had, one of those outdoor park bathrooms.
Pretend you need, a
Right.
pad or whatever. Yeah.
And then they were going to Morgan took a knife from her mother's kitchen.
Holy moly.
Right? And when they got her into the bathroom, they were going to kill her in there.
Murder her there.
Set her body. They had planned this. They were going to set her body after they killed her on the toilet. And right on the floor, you know how the bathrooms have drains?
There's the drain, right.
The blood was going to go into the drain. I mean, they way overplanned.
Mm-hmm.
Just really creepy planned. So they end up getting her into the bathroom, and while I guess she's in the stall, the two other girls are handing the knife back and forth, like, you kill her, you kill her, you kill her. And at some point, Anissa decides that she's going to try to, like, at least knock her out, because they've read that if they're unconscious, it's easier to kill them.
It's easier to kill someone.
And I think she acted like she was going to hit her head against the wall, the
stall,
the wall, like
yeah.
the cement wall.
Oh, okay.
But I guess she only did it lightly, and I guess they played it off like they were just goofing off.
Haha.
And they gave up.
Haha, just kidding.
Oh, just
Shoved
kidding.
her head into a wall.
Right, yeah, exactly. You know, what 12-year-olds do. So, since that didn't work, now we're on plan number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Plan number 3, Anissa suggests that they walk around the block in the park. And they start to go around the block, and then they see the woods, and, like, Anissa looks over at Morgan and is like, hey, look at all those trees and bushes. Maybe if we get her out there, that would be a great place. So they're like, hey, let's walk out here. And they kind of walk out into the woods, and then they're like, why don't we play hide and seek? Morgan is going to be the person who's going to close her eyes and count, and Anissa and Peyton are going to go hide. So what does Anissa do? She talks Peyton into lying onto the ground and covering herself up with leaves.
Oh dear. She's a sitting duck.
She's set up.
Yeah.
So she does that. And then Morgan, of course, finds Peyton because, you know, and he says, like, here she is right here under the leaves, you know. And then Anissa, now this is, I will post these. There are some videos of them the cops talking to these two girls.
Oh.
And, I mean, they're scary nonchalant. Anissa is like, she tells Morgan, go ballistic, go crazy, make sure she's down. So
hide and eek.
Right?
Right.
And so Morgan stabs her 19 times.
Oh my gosh.
So after they stab her, they're like, oh, we're going to go get help. And they just leave her. They just leave her in the woods because they think they've appeased Slender Man. So when Peyton...
But what happened to the 200-mile walk then? I guess they just forget about that part. They're like, oh, we're also very tired. It's been a day.
They start to walk, but they don't really get real far.
Okay.
So after she's stabbed, she's just left in the woods, and then Peyton was like, well, I'm good as dead, but I don't want to die.
Right.
So she pulls herself up, grabs whatever tree she can, makes her way out to this Big Bend Road, which is like basically a closed off road that's a bicycle path.
Uh-huh.
And she somehow gets to the edge of the woods right on the path, and then she's like, okay, now I gotta lay down because
she collapses.
I am bleeding. And while she's there, a cyclist by the name of Greg Steinberg, he finds her. And he's like, he pulls over. He's like, are you okay? And she's like, no, I am not okay.
Sure, just been stabbed 19 times. I'm fine.
She's like, I've been stabbed. And he was kind of shocked. And he's like, and he pulls out his phone. He said his hand was shaking, and he calls 911.
Wouldn't you? I mean, gosh.
Yeah, it's like this 12-year-old. What
you
the
find
hell?
a child with 19 stab wounds on the side of the road.
Oh my gosh. And it was the day, like, he normally goes on a different bicycle path, but this day he decided to go down this road. So, like, normally not, it was, like, chained off. But I go bicycle riding. I go on those roads, too. So this is not weird for bicyclists to go, there's nobody on it. I'm going to go down this road.
Right.
You know? So, yeah.
Oh, no.
So he calls 911. They get her to the hospital. And just before she goes into surgery, her mom gets there, thankfully. And she said the mom was there just in time to watch the nurse count the stab wounds on her.
Oh.
And that's when they come up with 19. If the cut was any closer to one of her arteries, she would have died. Oh, it was like a millimeter.
Oh,
she had been stabbed several times on her arms and her abdomen. And yeah, she was really, really, really lucky.
Oh, gosh.
6 hours after the surgery, when she was back out, she was like really concerned. Like, did they find the fucking girls? Because, you know, she wakes up from surgery. They had already been found.
Good.
So they had been walking, and yeah, they didn't clearly get very far. They were both captured. Both of the girls confessed. Again, I will put the videos out on the Facebook channel because, oh my God, they're just, it's creepy. They were both charged in an adult court with first-degree attempted and intentional homicide.
Because 6 months of planning.
Right. And the thing is like, this was over, I mean, it was the end of May when this happened. So she was able to go back to school in September. I mean, you know, it's like summer.
Are they all back in the
No. Okay. She went back to school. They did not go back to school. Anessa, she pled guilty for a lesser charge. Morgan pled not guilty by mental disease or defect. They were both serving 25 to 40 years in a mental institution. Find out later on that Morgan had, her mother had pointed out, because the moms, this destroyed all of these families.
Completely.
They did a 2020 episode on this, and they were interviewing everyone, including the moms of the kids who did this. They're like, I did not even see this coming. When they interviewed Peyton, she's like, I didn't see this coming. You know, it's just, Morgan's mom noticed that Morgan's, she was kind of having a lot of more like psychotic ideas.
Oh. And I understand you don't want to interfere like a ton in your child, but there comes a point in time.
Right.
Yeah, like you always think, oh, well, this is a little bit weird, but it's not going to get to that point until it gets to...
Right. You just don't, I mean, normally
like
your kid does not go kill someone, you know, or try to.
But yeah, you... Like, man.
So, you know, so that happened when? In May 31st of 2014. By October 22nd of 2014, they realized Morgan had early onset childhood schizophrenia.
Oh. Yeah.
So she's not in jail. She's just in a mental institution, you know. She is currently under house arrest, but she's on medications. So
someplace where they can keep her and the people around her safe.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy, messed up story. I mean, Peyton lived, and she still has scars, and she, you know, it did change her life, but it's been hard for Peyton to, like, trust anyone.
Hard for her, hard for all of those families.
Yeah,
I mean, 12 years old.
Right?
That's...
And this is why you might want to reconsider on having your children read certain things on the internet at a certain age.
That's right, yeah.
It's hard to get away from that, but... You really should pay attention.
I was going to say, it really is. Yeah. And woof, you know your kids' friends. Know the parents of your kids' friends. Yeah, and like that was kind of when we grew up, and not to be like, get off my lawn, when I was a kid, everything was better. But, you know, we were kids. We did, like... stupid things, and we were allowed a little bit of freedom and stuff like that when I was in middle school and high school and all of that. But man, my parents' number one rule is, before I could go anywhere, I need to meet their parents.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
Which felt so silly and like restrictive to me, like, ugh, Mom.
Right.
But I also didn't get murdered in the woods.
No, you didn't.
Or almost murdered in the woods. So, like, you know, yeah, it's
just a sad story.
It is a sad story.
At least she didn't die.
Thank goodness.
Oh my God, that just would have been horrible. I mean, it was horrible anyway, but...
And like I said, kids at that age, the social pressure...
Right.
Especially, I think, for girls,
mm-hmm.
You can't understand how much, like, social pressure there is and how mean it can be.
Exactly.
If you're on the outside.
Exactly.
So people will, like wow, kids will...
they'll do some pretty terrible things.
Yeah. Wow, Janet.
So that's my story.
Thank you. Like I said, I knew kind of the basics of it. And I listened to the Sinisterhood episode ages ago, but again, that's been years ago, and I just, wow.
Right?
Like, you gave me a whole lot of details that are new, and oh, wow. Gosh. I am glad that everybody made it out alive, and that the people that needed help
are getting
the help for this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Oof. Well. Yoo-hoo!
So I think this is where we should take a break.
Shake it off.
Yes. Woo!
And we're going to come back with What's Nice.
We'll be back with What's Nice.
If you're from the Midwest, and even if you aren't, if you have suggestions for stories, please send them our way to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Also, make sure to join our Facebook page, which is linked in the description. We now also have merch, which is also linked in the description. Anything that you purchase there will help to support the podcast. Now, let's return to What's Nice. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And we are back here for What's Nice.
Yay.
So I will go first, and I talked about Alf Bolin.
Yes.
Who was down in the Ozark Mountains, and so I know that we have kind of kissed upon the idea of Silver Dollar City before.
Yes, we have.
But I'm going to talk about a specific ride at Silver Dollar City called the Frisco Silver Dollar Line.
Ah, the train.
The train line, absolutely. So the train at Silver Dollar City, almost every theme park, attraction, etc. has a train.
Always.
Almost always.
Almost always.
This one is no different, but maybe a little bit different. Okay. The train is one of the oldest rides in the park. It started in 1962. It is a 20-minute train ride that kind of takes you around the perimeter of the park through the woods.
Nice.
It's very, very pretty, especially in the spring and in the fall. And originally, it was a 422 Davenport engine. It was a steam engine.
Oh, wow.
And they found that the steam engine couldn't make it all the way around the original track.
Oh, no!
Without running out of steam.
Oh, my God!
So how do you solve that problem?
I don't know. How do you solve that?
Well, you solve that problem as a distraction once per trip while the steam is rebuilding. Also, I should mention that the engine that they bought originally belonged to Henry Ford.
What? Wow! That's awesome!
So a steam engine that belongs to Henry Ford, but it can't make it all the way around the track without running out of steam. So once per trip, the train would have to stop, and it would get robbed.
Yes!
Quotation marks. By Alfie and Ralphie.
No way!
Bolin.
Oh my God! Wow! Now, they bring it right in.
They would. Ralphie Bolin was completely fictitious.
Yes, of
course. It
course.
was just somebody that they brought in as part of the story. So they did that for years, and now they have several trains. Different kinds of trains. They've moved to a switch engine, like a German switch engine, which doesn't require steam to build up. Right. And they have 5 different personalities who rob the train. But if you go to Silver Dollar City, I know it's not the most exciting ride.
I love Silver Dollar City.
I know, I do too. I haven't been in years. I want to go back. I keep trying to talk Ryder into going on a Branson trip. And if we do that, we could hop on over to Eureka Springs for the Crescent City Hotel, which
there we go.
I'm sure is going to be a future episode somewhere down the line. Anyway, here is...
Oh, there it is. Yep.
A picture of the railway train.
It's painted red. It looks like a steam train. What you would think that would be.
So the scenic railway line, and they have 5 different personalities now. One of them, I think, might even be kind of like loosely based on Bella Gunnis.
Oh wow,
That you
really?
did in
No
an
way!
episode.
Don't talk her into marrying her, because that's a bad idea.
No. But don't give her an engagement ring.
No,
whatever you do.
Don't!
So you're going to meet one of 5 different personalities on the train ride, and you just might meet up on the Frisco Silver Dollar line.
Wow.
With Alfie and Ralphie.
Wow. That is so cool.
And so that's a very short but a very fun What's Nice.
That's awesome. I love how that connects. Mm-hmm. That really connects with your story. I love it. Love it. So I have a What's Nice.
About Slender Man?
No. We're going to go to the town that this all happened in. And I'm going to mispronounce it again because I'm terrible. Waukesha. Okay. The Waukesha Civic Theater.
Okay.
So it's located currently at 264 West Main Street in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It is a live theater, and it does live entertainment, and it also does education. It's been doing this since 1957.
Oh, nice.
It is a nonprofit. It's currently located in downtown. It was opened in 1957, and they used to do their shows at the high school in the town. They would do a 3-show season. Mm-hmm. In 1964, they ended up moving to 506 North Washington Avenue, so this was their second location.
Okay.
In between 64 and 65, they ended up adding a 4th show, so now we have a 4-show season.
Because you're not competing with volleyball practice.
Exactly. Yeah. But now, they're in their own building. In 1976, they add a youth theater. In 1980, that there's just so much going on in this theater now, they decided they need to hire a managing director. And then they add a 5th show, which is the Christmas show. So now they have 5 shows. 1985, they end up adding a children's theater workshop.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so pretty cool. In 1999, that's when they end up moving to the current location that's in historic downtown. If you look at the website, their current shows there's a show called The Humans, and Iliad, which is
Iliad.
But this is like
Homer.
It's a take on Homer.
Oh, okay.
They also have
Iliad. Is it?
Yeah, it's called An Iliad.
I love it. Suki.
And then they have another one playing this 2024 called The Best of Broadway Cabaret. So it's like a bunch of songs from different shows. And then they also currently, up until like March or April, they have a pop-up dance class every Saturday there. So they have all sorts of things going on.
Pop up and dance?
Yeah, well, you can go and take a dance class there because I guess,
I like it.
Might as well use it.
Fantastic. No, I love to see... you like to see these cultural spaces and arts places, especially the ones that cater to children. You like to see them expanding and growing. And being
and
able
this
to
place has been
expanding,
and it has they've actually just in 2019, because, this happened a lot. 2019, they actually bought a building across the street that they were going to put a lot of money into, but then a pandemic happened. But they're currently doing stuff with that building to try to expand even more. So it's a nonprofit, and they just end up raising funds and trying to make the theater even better and better.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Do you know about, how far, what is the nearest, big city next to Waukesha?
Know.
Okay.
I do not know.
Is that, I want to say that's kind of close to Milwaukee, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't say. Please don't sue me. This isn't me. And Janet's looking stuff up on her phone.
I don't know.
We're just gonna edit this all out. It's okay.
You know what? Girl from Ipanema just comes up. That's just the way our lives work, because of course it does.
Wisconsin, it's not that big.
No, it's not.
You can get there.
Exactly.
You're in Wisconsin. Go to Waukesha.
Go find some cheese.
That's right.
So that's my What's Nice.
Fantastic. No, that's amazing. Like, yay for children in the arts.
Yes.
Yay for steam trains.
Yes.
Yay for people foiling bad men.
Exactly. And
yay for people surviving Slender Man
No kidding. Oh.
And, well, now that we have kind of talked about what we're going to cheer about, I think it's time for us to finish up and say what's nice.
No.
Nice. And as we always close everything out,
Stay Midwest nice.
stay Midwest nice.